I punched in Winona, Mississippi today in Google, and the first thing that popped up was this story. I found it interesting how it was in the station's vault. A simple coincidence? More than likely. But with all the claims of dispatching 601 before he had his license, you gotta wonder.
All right, Morgan, WLBT will celebrate its 70th anniversary in December, and each Tuesday we're taking a look at major news events we have covered over the years. From the vault this morning, a murder case that shocked a small town and continued to make news for decades. It happened on July 16th of 1996, what seemed like any other summer day in Winona. But shortly after Tardy Furniture opened for the day, someone inside the store opened fire on owner Bertha Tardy, her employee and friend Carmen Rigby, delivery driver Robert Golden, and a newly hired teenager named Bobo Stewart. WLBT sent a crew to Winona as soon as word got to Jackson.
With shock and disbelief, onlookers stare at Tardy Furniture Company, site of Winona's quadruple shooting. Locals described Tardy as a person who was well known and well liked here. They say she was very active in her community and her church. For those reasons, many here are having a hard time believing her family business has become the site of such a gruesome crime.
During the investigation that followed, this man, Curtis Flowers, who had once worked briefly at the store, was arrested and charged with murder. District Attorney Doug Evans argued that Flowers' motive was retaliation because he'd been fired. But hampered by a lack of evidence, the DA's office had a tough time making the charges stick. They took Flowers to trial 6 times, and each time they got a hung jury or the conviction was overturned.
Doug Evans is the Montgomery County District Attorney, and it's his ways of selecting jurors that were called into question and examined by the United States Supreme Court.
All the while, Flowers stayed in jail, always insisting he had nothing to do with the murders.
Reasonable doubt as to Mr. Flowers' guilt can be entertained.
In December of 2019, a stunning development. A judge in Montgomery County agreed with Flowers' attorneys that according to state law, a capital murder suspect is eligible for bond after 2 hung juries, and that there was reasonable doubt about whether Flowers was indeed the killer. The judge set bail at $250,000. Flowers was released from custody that afternoon. Nearly 9 months later, State Attorney General Lynn Fitch dismissed the charges. Now enjoying a new life of freedom after 23 years in prison, Curtis Flowers talked with WLBT's Maggie Wade.
One of the first questions I asked is how could he not be bitter after spending so much of his life on death row for 4 murders he and so many others say he did not commit.
I would have to say family, motivation, trying to stay grounded, praying and not getting caught up in all the everyday penitentiary things,
Doug Evans, the district attorney who led the prosecution in all 6 trials, resigned in June of 2023. With charges against the only person ever arrested now dropped, the question remains, who killed 4 people on that summer morning in Winona without any witnesses? That question, in the eyes of the law, is still